Liberation greetings to all and sundry. My people of Ambazonia, my dear people of the southern Cameroons. My name is John Bakuro, and today is November 25. Today is Thanksgiving for all those who are in the United States of America. And on this day, which is a day of Thanksgiving, I come to bring a message of hope, a message of belief, and a message of trust in what we are all standing for and in what we are all fighting for. I like to say here, my people, that before we proceed in this conversation, let us observe a pious moment for the repose of the soul of our brother, Commando, and the repose of the souls of our children and sister in Nekondo Titi. May the souls of the faithful departed rest in peace. My people of the southern Cameroons, fellow soldiers of our liberation movement, my people of Ambazonia, the message I bring forth today is titled, I Had a Choice. Listen, we are at a stage in our liberation movement where we need to look each other in the face and tell ourselves what it matters to tell at this point in time. I have read a lot of horrible messages on Facebook, received some on WhatsApp, got a lot others on various social media platforms since our brother Commando engaged his journey beyond. I know that some people felt that perhaps in my standing in the leadership of the Southern Cameroon's liberation movement, I ought to engage back channels to express my frustrations. But I like to remind all and sundry, there was a time in the Bible that our Lord Jesus Christ wept. That's what the Bible says, and Jesus wept. Yes, he did. Jesus Christ was God. I am only man. You and I were all human. It gets to a point where we really must let it out exactly the way it is. Let those emotions flow. Listen, my people. Before I really get into the crux of this message of today, which is entitled, I Had a Choice, I want to lay this foundation so we know. Over time, since 2017, I have seen messages, had calls, listened to audio messages, watched videos of people giving me all manners of names. Called me an agent of La République planted in this movement to sow confusion, to bring the divide. I am at pain, really at pain today, to reconcile the image I had of the people of Ambazonia, of the people of the Southern Cameroons, when I made that ultimate decision in 2017 to choose where I had to stand, because there was no room for neutrality. I'm at pain to recognize that in my mind, I knew that the people of Southern Cameroons are a people who love justice, are a people who love truth, are people who have a penchant for fact, are people who promote all the values that matter when it comes to the protection of rights. The people of Southern Cameroon that I had in my mind on that night of January 17, 2017, were people who know how to differentiate between lies and truth, who are knowledgeable enough to see the difference between manipulation, falsehood, and fact. The question that arises is, do I have the same thought today? Do I have the same feeling today? Do I think that our people are being driven by the winds? Do I have a feeling that the majority of our people are being carried by the crowds? Do I have that feeling that the people of the Southern Cameroons have suddenly decided to become blind to reality? That is the question that's on the table today. I think if we all agree that we need to uphold and protect our independence that was declared, restored on October 1, 2017, then perhaps we need to start thinking differently. Then perhaps we need to simply go back to selves. Then perhaps we need to try to put on our critical thought, our thinking hats. Perhaps we need to let our emotions give way back to our brains so we begin thinking straight again. My people, today we seem to get carried away by flamboyance. We seem to get carried away by the mass of distortions that come to our doors. Yes, I must affirm this. I'm one of the few who are described as frontline leaders in the Southern Cameroon's quest to uphold and protect our independence that doesn't have surrogates. Go online, Facebook, WhatsApp, or you don't find anybody fighting for me, because I don't think there is any reason for anybody to stand up to fight for me. Because when I come to say anything, when I want to contribute, I want to stay by the truth and by the facts. My intention is to help mobilize the people of the Southern Cameroons towards our overall objective, which is achieving self-determination, which is ensuring our freedom, which is making sure we guarantee a future for the people of the Southern Cameroons, both those who are alive now, who may have the chance to see that freedom, and those who are yet to be born, who need that freedom more than you and I today. My people, when you get up, move on to your keyboard and begin to type these manipulative messages, and you know in your heart of hearts that what I'm typing is a lie, that what I'm typing is manipulation, I invite you to call your children, to sit before you, look at them in their eyes, look at them in their faces, and continue typing that message. Ask yourself whether what you are doing is to assure a future for them. Commando, Mba Ivo, Ayeke, all of them, Amigo, Smalley, there are many of them whose names I can't remember, who have engaged a journey beyond. They too had wives and children. Those children are looking to have a future. When we do what we are doing, even to those who are still standing today strong to ensure we have a future, like no pity in Sobu, ask yourself the fundamental question. By doing this to them, by entrapping them, am I assuring that children for that future, for these children who are seated in front of me and looking at me in my eyeballs even as I type this manipulative message, even when I know that what I'm typing is falsehood, even when I know that what I am doing is just because I want to defend a person, just because I want to protect an individual, just because I want to protect a position, just because I want to protect a group, an organization, or a movement. And I know that is not right. These are the fundamental questions we should ask ourselves. Today is a day of Thanksgiving in the United States of America. I have a reason to give thanks. Yes. And the reason I have to give thanks today is that the devil is being put to shame in Bui. Finally. That Insobu, who is an only son, has finally understood that it makes sense to make peace with no pity, who today is orphaned by the fact that his parents and siblings are caged just because he is standing for our freedom. They have come to terms to the clear understanding that a good lot of us in the diaspora do not mean good for them. And that, as a matter of fact, they are on their own. That if they don't make peace, if they don't sit together, bond together, agree to work together, they are on their own. And whatever happens to them, we won't care. Do you know what it means? That you engage a man with a wife and children to stand up and fight for the collective good. And tomorrow, because he is incapacitated, he calls you and says, I need some little money for medication. And you ask him this question. Right now, you are handicapped, you are useless. You can no longer go to the front. Is there any reason for me to bother about you? Stop calling me. My brothers and sisters of the Southern Cameroons, you are asking yourself, right now, as you're watching me and listening, that is Mr. Kuro mad? Is he drunk? What is he saying? That somebody can ask this kind of question to a volunteer freedom fighter. Oh, yes. If you doubt, call my brother, Mr. Ejiawan. If you doubt, call him. Ask him if we do ask this kind of questions. But they who are handicapped today, whom we consider useless, had a choice to stand for what is right or to be silent. They had a choice, just like I had a choice. My people of the Southern Cameroons, I'd like you to take a look at this. I have brought this up before. I'm bringing it up today again on this day of Thanksgiving to say before the truth can set you free, you need to recognize the lie which is holding you hostage. Should I dwell on this again? Hell no, I won't. Because I've talked about it before. At least twice or thrice, I've spoken about this. The lie that is holding us hostage is that imagination that we can use a lie to fight a just cause. No, it won't work. The lie that is holding us hostage is that we feel, honestly, that we can use manipulation, we can use blackmail, we can use distortion, we can use mudslinging, we can use bad blood to win a God-given cause. Hell no, it's not possible. That is the big lie that must be fought to liberate this movement and let it be a real and veritable liberation movement. That is the lie we must all fight. That is the most fundamental of all lies we are telling in this movement. And I'll end just on that. Listen, my people. On the night of January 17, 2017, I had a choice. I was standing in Yaoundé in the presence of people who today are still serving in that administration. The force of nature brought us together. We were having fun. We came together to have fun when the news happened that the consortium, the SCNC, had been banned. internet was cut from the southern Cameroons. We had a choice to ignore the fact that Comrades Bala and Dr. Fontaine were picked up, and that we could simply ignore and continue having fun. We had a choice to make sure it really did not matter. But my people, duty calls. I want to say this because if I don't say it today, I'll be cheating myself. About a week ago, I had a call, a Zoom call, with some Southern Cameroons, Ambazonia patriots in the United Kingdom. They were less than 10 in number. They wanted to have a discussion with me. They wanted to hear my story regarding this movement, this liberation movement. And for the first time in 5 years, since I abandoned my 19-year-old career, if you know what it means to have pension, note I won't have one. After working to the point where I deserve one. If you know what it means to enjoy at least the fruits of your labor, whatever I invested, I'm not enjoying it. If you know what it means to want to have career advancement, yes, I killed it. If you know what it means to make a choice between the hard right and the easy wrong, that was the choice I was faced with on that evening. The hard right was doing what I did. The easy wrong was simply turning to La République du Cameroun, standing with the oppressor against the oppressed. I had a choice. I could have done otherwise. So many people in my position did otherwise. There's so many members of the consortium who took just a little moment to hide and came back out and decided to give in, to stand with the oppressor, and they're living their lives. I had a fundamental choice to make. Oh yes, I had a choice to make. I could have chosen to do otherwise. La République du Cameroun was easy, charming, with all kinds of visible, touchable, palpable rewards, not virtual rewards. I looked the other way. But for the first time in 5 years, someone at that conversation with our brethren in the UK asked a question I've not heard. Mr. Akuro, since you found yourself in this situation, running through the forests and moving through all kinds of difficulties with your family, how are you doing? Are you able to cope today? Are you able to take care of at least your fundamental needs? Is your family able to feed itself? This is the first time I heard someone ask me that question in 5 years. During the entire period, leading from January 17, that night, that I made the ultimate choice to stand with the oppressed people, to look at hope. From that night, we have decided to look at hope, which is be able to see that there is no light despite all the darkness. Hope is be able to see that, please, that there is light despite all the darkness. The Ambazonian dream, the Southern Cameroon's dream at that moment was hollow. There was nothing in it. Absolutely nothing. I could have chosen silence. Silence that night might have been rewarding. Rewarding from the oppressor. Rewarding from La République du Cameroun. But again, that same night, that same moment, I thought of what late Martin Luther King Jr. said. That in the end, we will remember not the words of our enemies, but the silence of our friends. Silence that night would have meant calamity. I had a choice. To stand up for Ambazonia, or at least just to be silent. But when I looked into the eyes of my 3-year-old daughter, who was keeping on my laps at that time when this thing happened. And I listened to our brethren, top military personnel, who were in my house for fun. And they asked, what plan B did the consortium have? Of course, we had none. We had not thought of it. We were yet to think of it. The grace was too much that we received for us to have had time to start thinking of plan B immediately. The public support was too much. The thirst of the people of the southern Cameroons, of Ambazonia, for freedom was so overwhelming. We were still basking in all this unexpected favor from the heavens and growing support, overwhelming support, that we literally did not recognize that the oppressor could have something up their sleeves. And that early, we had not thought of a plan B. But the same people sat. They could represent the oppressor by the nature of the uniforms they wore. But they said, something must be done. Our people have demonstrated beyond reasonable doubt from what we saw on January 9. And again, redacted on January 16 and 17 that they want freedom. Don't tell us there was no plan B. Together with these people, some of whom today have been described as enablers, we concocted this plan of shipping our movement abroad. That is why we have a movement today. That is why we are still today hoping that there will be a free Ambazonia. I had a choice, alone where I stood, to make this dream come alive or to kill it. I had a choice at that moment to stand for myself and my family, or to stand for the people of the southern Cameroon's Ambazonia. I had a choice to go in for the huge benefits, be them temporal, that our Republic of Cameroon was presenting, than go in for something that seemed hollow. I had a choice to stand at that moment and decide to ignite a fire, a flame that, God willing, will lead to the freedom of 8 million people, or to do what others felt like doing. Foster career advancement, protect my pension, protect my investments. My people of the southern Cameroons, you too today, you have a choice to either give in to the easy wrong, which is fostering falsehood to promote an individual, to promote a group, to promote a movement, to promote an organization, in the hopes that it could lead to freedom, or to stand for the hard right, which is difficult to uphold, because right is not always popular. You have a choice to either make Omar by rising up to say those who are sacrificing their lives that we and our children should have freedom need to be protected. You have a choice this day to side with evil against virtue. You who knows the truth and prefers to be silent, take note, you are doing a disservice to posterity and to the people of Ambazonia. You who knows the truth and prefer to look the other way when our brethren are being persecuted and called names, when you know one word from you could re-establish fact, you are doing a disservice to the future generations of southern Cameroonians, where this liberation movement, not to attain the objective of obtaining freedom for the people of the southern Cameroons, your hands will be deep, deep in the acid of failure, because you were silent when you ought to speak out. My people of the southern Cameroons, take a look at this. When I was expressing regret, mourning, showing frustration for the passing of our brother Commando, on a Mogamo forum, a brother brought this picture. When I looked at it, again I sobbed in tears. He said, we grew up like this, and we were to grow old like this. But we let money, we let women, we let ego, we let pride to destroy us. My brother, we lost the true love that is characteristic of Amazonia. We lost the true feelings that is characteristic of the people of the southern Cameroons. When I read down the lanes of history, I see some of the British people in the British colonial administration that left our land continually describe the people of the southern Cameroons as these nice people. Some of them said, these nice little people, on account of our numbers then. Can we be described the same today? If anybody goes on social media to read the people of Ambazonia, the people of the southern Cameroons, do you have the feeling that they can describe us that same way today? You have a role to play. I have a role to play. We all have a choice to make here. A choice to use truth, fact, and love to push our liberation movement forward, where we all work together, bonded together, like one people, like one nation, with one destiny, or to take the sides with falsehood that never lasts, that will never reward you when the pages of history will begin to be opened, when neither you nor me, neither you nor I will still be around here to defend ourselves. My people of the southern Cameroons, my heart bleeds to imagine just how much we are tempted today to give in to falsehood. How much we are tempted today to fall prey to manipulations than to accept some of the hard facts, no matter how hard they hit us in the face. That is the only path that will lead us to the freedom we seek. I am not about to answer to any of the insults, any of the attacks, any of the vilification regarding Commando. I have made my point. And I say, my people of the southern Cameroons, freedom fighters must not be obliged to pay allegiance. If they choose to, let them do. If they don't want to, let them be. All what we want is that all punches should be directed at the oppressor. That is our real source of worry. That is our real problem. The issue of this one wants this one, that one, to be under him or her in order to be empowered to negotiate. That is the whole matter of concentration and discussion today. Is a shame. A huge shame. This is what it tells me. That a good lot of us are in this movement looking for that moment where you will be at the table of negotiation for the specific personal benefit that you stand to tap from being at that table. Because as long as I know, negotiations are handled by the experts who have a mastery of what has to be discussed and who may not even be Southern Cameroonians. All of them who have to sit to talk in our interest, to protect the collective interests of the people of the Southern Cameroons. Now this whole concentration of about this one wants this freedom fighter to be under him or that one so that they will use him or her to negotiate betrays the fact that a lot of people in our movement today are already looking at the terminal benefits. But we must remember that this whole venture may not end while we're still alive. It's possible that very few of us may be privileged to see that free land of Amazonia. Why don't we take our focus, our eyes away from this whole business of negotiations and focus on the flag, the blue and white of the Southern Cameroons, and let things unravel by themselves. Let things unfold by themselves. To me, right now, the big thing we have to do is liberate first. This matter of negotiations and the benefit of being on the table should be tertiary, not even secondary. My people of the Southern Cameroons, don't tell me Mba Akuro is an agent of La République, is an agent of whoever I care. Because I had a choice to belong to this movement or not to belong. And even today, unknown to you, I still have a choice to belong to this movement or not to belong. No one can force me to belong to this movement. I belong to this movement for personal conviction because I believe that there are certain things in life so dear. There are certain things in life so wonderful. There are certain things in life so eternally true that they are worth dying for. And if a man or a woman has not found what he or she can die for, that soul is maybe not fit to live. Mimicking the late Martin Luther King Jr. I value the freedom of Amazonia than anything else in my life today. That is why I'm in this movement. That is the only reason I'm in this movement. And the answer I gave to that sister who asked me, how are you doing? How are you faring with your family? After losing your career, your everything. And my answer was, God has so blessed us. I had my times, my moments with difficulties, living in very complicated conditions in Nigeria. Eventually, escaping arrest in Nigeria, going through a very complicated route with my children. I look at the eyes of my 3-year-old daughter and how she had to go days upon days. We was moving in on sometimes on ventilated vehicles and places and routes you can't imagine for freedom, for safety. I say to God, I have a reason to thank you. When I imagine that even in the United States of America, I had to sleep in vehicles in the heart of winter without heating, I didn't budge. I didn't care that nobody asked me, how are you doing? Because my focus was and continues to be on the blue and white. But I must confess, just like I told that sister in that meeting with our brethren in the United Kingdom, that God has so blessed me and my family that today we are on our feet. We are able to contribute generously to this liberation movement because God answered and continues to answer our prayer. And it is my prayer on this day of Thanksgiving that the same God will continue to answer not only my prayer, not only the prayers of my family, but the prayers of all Southern Cameroonians, that we will one day scream, free, free, free at last. We are free. I'm not oblivious of the fact that something happened in Ekondo Titi yesterday. No, I'm not blind to it. There's been so much talk from yesterday until today. But what pricked my mind was a comparison in this picture between what happened in Soweto on June 16, 1976. Of course, the world commemorates that day. The day in Sharpeville where children saw the worst in this world. When you look at that picture and look at this picture in the Kondo Titi, it tells the story of what we are going through on our journey to freedom. And once it happened, controversy as usual sets in. Yes, controversy. But, very interestingly, I looked back and I saw success in Congo. Some people call his name otherwise. We're all in Nigeria together. At some beginning, a good lot of us thought we were all fighting the same fight. He took a different path. Maybe he felt the easy wrong made sense to standing by the hard right. But with regards to what happened in Kondo Titi, this is what he said. That those who don't understand the political game in Cameroon will quickly conclude that Amba did it. As for me, I cannot be deceived. Neither can I be intimidated. Sometimes, even those who are against you will speak the truth. Because when God instructs, even the devil obeys. That is what I pick from that statement. And I like us to know this. That just like the High Commission of Canada to Cameroon said when this incident occurred yesterday, we should all bear in mind that on October 29th, 2021, the United Nations Security Council unanimously adopted Resolution 2601 on the protection of education in armed conflict. So I agree with them that there is no justification for what happened in Okondo Titi yesterday. There is definitely no justification. As Southern Cameroonians, as Ambazonians, we had said, our children deserve education. Yet, their parents should look at the security situation around the environment where they are and determine whether to send their children to school or not. Because in as much as the right to education is fundamental, the right to life is primordial. No one, I insist, should mandate themselves with the right to stop children from going to school. We as a people, in 2016, 2017, 2018, decided deliberately to keep our children home to protest against a situation we do not agree with. Today, there are several community schools in our communities taking care of the education needs of our children, at least ensuring that they are not taught in a language you don't understand. While we are yet to have the opportunity to determine the curriculum and determine the nature of the certification that they have, we must continue in one way or the other to foster learning among our children. I want to say this, that while the people of La République du Cameroun continue to tell themselves they have the right to choose for us, we must not lose fact or lose sight of the fact that if we do not as a people determine to destroy falsehood and in its place uphold truth and fact, we may begin to lose out to the federalists who have no future and to those in La République du Cameroun who feel that they must use force to subdue us. I always hail my brother Dondinga for depicting this in such a way that we can easily understand. My people of the Southern Cameroons, my dear brothers and sisters of Ambazonia, as I conclude this message, I want us to recall that we all have a choice to stay in this movement and do it right so that we attain our objective, or to get out of this movement and not be an unnecessary impediment that frustrates our ability to attain the freedom that our people seek. And let me remind all of us of what I've always said, and which I hold today to be my mantra, that we should never, ever settle for less than we deserve. Because if we do, we will end up with less than we settled for. We experienced this in 1961. We should never, ever want to dart in that direction anymore. I'd like to take this occasion once more to wish all those who are in the United States of America and all of us across the world a happy Thanksgiving, though we may all continually today be clad in black. To God be the glory.